Hello and welcome to day 11. Today is workout 2D, meaning we'll have circuited through all 8 workouts so far in this trainer. So congratulations, you made it through once. That means we've got a recovery day tomorrow, and then after that, we're going to be starting back at workout 1A and focusing on progressively overload and beating either the repetitions or the weight on every single exercise going through the workouts again. And remember, since this is only a 6-week trainer, we are only going to be going through each workout 3 to 4 times. So get the most out of them, savor each workout, enjoy it, and push yourself to continue that progressive overload and get the best results possible for the 6 weeks. All right, so muscle group wise, we have made it through chest, back, shoulders, triceps, and biceps. We are now on abs. We're going to be showing and demonstrating an abdominal exercise, how to get the maximum benefits out of that. And then we are going to break down a little bit more in detail ab training. So let's check out the video. Today we are going to cover one of my favorite abdominal exercises, which is the stability ball crunch. So the stability ball allows you a greater range of motion and takes a lot of pressure off the lower back. You'll notice here I have my hands on 2 points of my body to illustrate what range of motion I'm trying to get. The first hand is placed at my lower chest and the second just above the top of my hip bones. My goal on each repetition is to bring that point A and point B as close together as I can at the contraction, and then as far apart as I stretch back to the top range of motion. You can do the same thing by placing your pinky finger at the top of your hip bones and then your thumb up at the bottom of your rib cage or bottom of your chest. Same thing. You're trying to space those 2 fingers apart as far as you can in the stretched position, and then bring them together as close as you can at the contraction at the top. Here's what I mean. You can see how far my hands are apart in the stretched position right here versus how close they are at the top. Now this isn't a full sit-up. This is a crunch. So this is full range of motion for the abdominals without allowing the hip flexors or psoas to come in too much and dominate the movement. This is why I prefer crunching movements for the abdominals rather than full range sit-up movements, as those exercises too easily get taken over by the hip flexors. Now, as we'll discuss a little bit later in this video as well, if you'd like to add weight to this exercise, this is a great one to do so. In fact, one of my favorite mechanical drop sets to do with this exercise, I will start with a dumbbell, a bar, or a weight plate of maybe 10 to 20 pounds held behind my head, and I'll do 10 to 15 repetitions there. Then I'll bring the same weight up over my chest, putting it in a slightly mechanically stronger position for another 10 to 15 reps. After that, I'll drop the weight and use just body weight for the final 10 to 15. This is a great way to progress on this exercise if you find body weight too easy. Now the other thing you'll notice here is the positioning on the ball. Make sure the small of your back is on the part of the ball where you're protecting your lower back with the crunch and still able to get a full range of motion. Too far back and you'll roll off, too far forward and you won't get that complete contraction at the top. So if you have any questions on that video, please leave a comment down below and I will get to that. But let's start dissecting the exercise and the abdominal training specifically in a little bit more detail. So as I pointed out in the video, one of the key crucial elements with any sort of abdominal exercise is going to be bringing that point A and point B together while limiting the movement with the other body parts, with the other muscle groups. So as we touched on in the video, you want to imagine that point A at the bottom of your rib cage or just underneath your chest, and that point B right around where the hip area is, the top part of the hip bones or the lower abdominals. And all you're trying to do is you're trying to lengthen those 2 points as far apart from each other as you stretch back in a nice controlled fashion. and to shorten the length between those two and bring those 2 points as close together at the top part of the contraction. Exhaling to further crunch down and engage those abdominal muscles. This is where so many people make a mistake with ab training, doing exercises such as sit-ups or leg raises incorrectly, because rather than focusing on bringing point A and point B together, they're just focusing on going from lying down to sitting up, or for hanging straight to bringing their legs straight up. This usually results in the hip flexors and the psoas muscles doing the majority of the work with very little tension actually on the abdominals. In fact, it's possible to do a sit-up and a leg raise with very little abdominal recruitment. Sure, you will be bracing yourself to stabilize, so there will be some abdominal tension, but you're not actually lengthening or contracting the muscle, which, as we now know, is an important factor in training any muscle correctly. The next thing I want to touch on abdominal training is weighted versus body weight abdominal training and what exercises you should avoid. First off, should you use weights with your abdominal training? The answer is it depends. Some people have genetically blockier waist or thick abdominals. If you have a slightly higher body fat percentage and can still see your abdominals clearly, or when you're dieted down, if you have nice big brick-like abdominals poking out, then I would avoid doing too much weighted abdominal exercises, as that could thicken and block out your waist. Now, if you're a person like me who has shallower abdominals, especially when I first started bodybuilding, I could get down very lean and still have very minimal protrusion or brick-like popping effect to my abdominals. Therefore, I found it to be very important to include some weighted abdominal training movements to actually build up my abdominal wall and have those abs pop out a little bit more when my body fat percentage gets lower. Now, any weighted abdominal exercise you do, if you do choose to do so, should be done for the abs specifically, not for the obliques. Any sort of twisting movement that you're going to be doing or bending movement for the obliques, such as a side crunch, a Russian twist, or anything like that, should not be done with weights if your goal is aesthetic or bodybuilding purposes. Since the obliques wrap around to the side of the abdominals, building these up too much will widen and thicken your waist and throw off that V-taper in proportion. In some exercises you should just never do unless really building up a thick waist is your goal, such as holding a dumbbell in one arm and doing the weighted side bends. This is a silly exercise for bodybuilding purposes, or even worse when I see people with a dumbbell in each hand just rocking back and forth, allowing the weight to counterbalance themselves from side to side. This is a completely pointless exercise and there's plenty of better alternatives. I specifically enjoy the exercises that I have included in my blueprint trainers, such as the 6-week blueprint to living art that we are doing now. And lastly, should you do any abdominal training at all? Again, it depends, as your abs will be engaged and trained to a certain degree with heavy compound core lifts. Again, this depends on your genetics though. If you're a person who has abdominals that pop out no matter what, then that's up to you if you choose to train them. I would still train them somewhat to a degree, especially if you're looking to do a physique competition, as this really helps you build that mind to muscle connection on keeping control of your stomach at all times on stage and being able to crunch down in the positions and poses correctly. However, you don't have to worry about this as much. If you're somebody like me who had to struggle to bring up that abdominal definition, then absolutely I would train the abs, both for the reasons that I mentioned before and for being able to actually build up muscle that shows more definition and pop on stage. They say abs are made in the kitchen, and that's partially true. While it's important for somebody like me with the shallower abdominals to train the abs and bring them up to have that wow factor to reveal, you aren't going to be able to see your abs very impressively if you have a higher body fat percentage. So if you really want your abs to pop, you will need to build them up to a certain degree in the gym, but much more importantly, you will have to diet down any of the fluff, body fat, and water that are covering the abdominals to really be able to see them. This is one of the reasons I'm doing the 6-week blueprint to living art, so that I can reveal the abdominal definition that much better that I created with the 12-week blueprint to muscle before. It's going to get even crazier after this as we move into the, spoiler alert, 12-week blueprint to compete as I move into my next show. But that's for a later date. For now, we are getting the foundation set for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, as always, leave a comment down below. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic workout, and I can't wait to see you in tomorrow's video.